Is there even a point for that position? Asked Lewis Hamilton over the radio after finishing 10th in the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. That Hamilton had to check shows how unfamiliar this territory is for him. The last time he finished 10th was in the 2012 Korean Grand Prix, so it's perhaps no surprise he needed a refresher on the lower reaches of the Formula 1 point system. That shows how unusual it is for Hamilton to be so far down in both qualifying and the race. Given he was only 16th fastest in qualifying, Saudi Arabia 2022 was his worst weekend in 180 races for Mercedes since joining the team in 2013. That's hardly the best way to celebrate breaking Michael Schumacher's record for the most F1 starts with the same team. Of course, Hamilton has had worse results in both qualifying and races for Mercedes, but these were the consequence of mechanical problems or crashes. In Saudi Arabia, it was all on merit, with the bare numbers stating he had started 15th and finished 10th. So what went wrong for Hamilton? How much was down to bad luck? And what does it reveal about the prospects for Mercedes for the rest of 2022? Hamilton was eliminated in Q1 on pace for the first time since he qualified 19th for the 2009 British Grand Prix. This was when McLaren was still struggling with the MP4-24, built to the new 2009 regulations, although that weekend he did lap 0.185 seconds slower than teammate Heikki Kovalainen, who did reach Q2. Hamilton has been eliminated in Q1 since, but the last time that happened before Saudi Arabia was at Interlagos in 2017 thanks to a crash. But for Hamilton to be knocked out through sheer lack of speed was astonishing. Although Mercedes was struggling, teammate George Russell was 0.663 seconds quicker in Q1 and reached Q3, ending up 6th on the grid. The problem for Hamilton was rear instability, which he attributed to setup changes made that just didn't work. The killer blow was struck by Aston Martin driver Lance Stroll, who was the only driver to use 3 sets of new softs in Q1 and outpaced Hamilton by 0.087 seconds. Compared to Russell in Q1, Hamilton was visibly busier behind the wheel, trying to keep the loose rear under control, and was slower than his teammate through the vast majority of the lap. Those struggles, combined with a condensed field spread, meant Hamilton couldn't make it. But despite Hamilton's setup complaints, Mercedes head of trackside engineering Andrew Shovlin said there was nothing radical in terms of the difference between the two cars. Primarily, it was down to a little too much front wing flap and a tyre pressure gamble that didn't work. Hamilton even suggested making widespread car changes and starting from the pits after qualifying, but that wasn't necessary. Instead, he started the race 15th, gaining 1 place on the grid thanks to Haas driver Mick Schumacher being withdrawn after his heavy Q2 crash. We'll get on to Hamilton's race problems in a moment, but first, thanks for watching this video. If you're enjoying it, do hit the like button and also subscribe to our channel so you don't miss anything from the race. It really does help us to do what we do. Hamilton's race started encouragingly enough, and it took him just 14 laps to get into the top 10. He passed Zhou Guanyu, Daniel Ricciardo, albeit thanks to the McLaren driver making an early pit stop, Lance Stroll, Lando Norris and Pierre Gasly to get there. As he was one of 3 drivers to start on the hard compound Pirellis, Hamilton stayed out when the safety car was deployed after Nicholas Latifi crashed. During this extended stint, the race was actually panning out pretty well. Hamilton's pace compared to Russell ahead was good, despite being on hard tyres that were 16 laps older than his teammates. But his battle wasn't with Russell, it was with a group of cars behind. At the point Fernando Alonso's Alpine slowed, closely followed by Daniel Ricciardo's McLaren, with both coming to a halt in the vicinity of the pit entry, Hamilton had a big enough gap to have pitted and come out either 9th or 10th. It was very close with Pierre Gasly. But had the green flag stayed out, his pace was good enough to make sure he had cleared Gasly and also jumped Norris if he kept it up for a few more laps, so 7th place was probably on the cards. With a virtual safety car pit stop, there was even the possibility of pitting and emerging ahead of Ocon, but instead, confusion led to Hamilton staying out. So what exactly went wrong? When Alonso slowed, Hamilton was warned about it by race engineer Pete Bono Bonington. He told Hamilton that you are in your safety car window, meaning that if the safety car with a VSC is deployed, you automatically come in. Daniel Ricciardo then also slowed with a loss of drive, with Bono informing Hamilton of this. Hamilton was then given the call to box, 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 with a caveat to keep an eye on the pit lane in case it closes, just as he was going around the touring Alonso at the final corner, wary of doing so initially as there were yellow flags. Hamilton then saw Ricciardo's car stop just before the white line demarking the start of the pit entry. Although the pits were still open at this point and he had just been told to pit, that distraction led to him staying out. Bono reiterated the call to pit, but by that point it was too late. To make matters worse, the pit lane was closed because of the clear-up, with a virtual safety car being deployed a few moments later. As a result, Hamilton had to make his pit stop when they opened again, and the field was back up to speed, dropping him to 12th place. He quickly passed Alex Albon, then Lance Stroll to take 10th, but Haas driver Kevin Magnussen was too far up the road to catch. After the race, a glum Hamilton gave a very matter-of-fact explanation of the struggles Mercedes is having, saying the W13 needs more grip and more power. While Hamilton had a difficult weekend, teammate George Russell starting 6th and finishing a distant 5th showed how far Mercedes is off Red Bull and Ferrari. The season started badly for Mercedes in Bahrain, but things got worse at the high-speed Jeddah Corniche circuit. It says a lot that Russell's performance was good in the circumstances. Its deficit to the front wasn't far off doubling in Saudi Arabia, extending from 0.541% off the pace last weekend to 1.025% in Jeddah. The reason for the Mercedes pace problems are no secret, because it's no different to what it was grappling with during pre-season testing. Russell suggested 99% of the car's problems will be solved if the porpoising issue can be eliminated. But for now, the Mercedes still can't access the lap time the team believes is in the car because it can't run low enough. To add to those struggles, Russell suggested both he and Hamilton were held back by having to focus on working out how low the Mercedes can get away with running rather than on their own driving. Mercedes team principal Toto Wolff described the performance level as totally unacceptable. The Mercedes W13 is the third fastest car at best, slipping to 4th behind Alpine in qualifying thanks to Esteban Ocon's superb qualifying performance in Saudi Arabia, although in the race it was comfortably quicker than the Alpine. The configuration of the Jeddah Corniche circuit potentially explains the increased deficit to the front. It's a high-speed track with plenty of fast sweeps that will inevitably punish any car having to run higher than ideal. The situation wasn't helped by Mercedes not yet having its proper low downforce rear wing assembly ready, instead having to trim back the Bahrain specification one. Having to run a higher ride height than desired is a fact of life for Mercedes now, and most likely will continue to be so in the upcoming races, given it has made progress mitigating the problem but is still limited by it. The hope was the car could run a little lower in Jeddah, but this proved not to be the case. Chauvelin actually described the level of porpoising as becoming unpredictable during Friday practice. He also says solving the porpoising problem is priority number 1, and the hope is that if Mercedes can sort it, there is significant performance to be unleashed. New parts are planned, although the team is still building an understanding of the problem, with Chauvelin eager to stress Mercedes cannot be certain it has a comprehensive grasp of the situation. This means the Mercedes struggles could continue for a few more races yet, if not more, with damage limitation the name of the game to ensure that it's not out of World Championship contention when it resolves its problems. If, that is, it does get on top of the porpoising this year at all.